100% American made. And darn proud of it. The Charlie Kirk Show.
All right, welcome back. Gina, do we still have you? Gina, are you still there?
Yes, I'm still here.
Oh, okay,
yes,
sorry, you were asking a
here.
follow-up, and we had a funny break, so we had to just wait till we came back to wrap. What? Go ahead and ask your follow-up.
Yes. Well, I just don't think I'm the only person who has heard some things that truly do not make sense. And I know that Candace is asking a lot of questions and she's way out there, but I also know that there are lots of us who are just everyday, normal, average Americans who are fans of yours. We're fans of Charlie's. We're fans of Candace's, and they were friends. And the things that don't make sense, I think so many of us are really just wanting for there to be some kind of logic to the whole thing. And I have asked Candace myself. I mean, I'm one person in all of America and maybe the world for that matter who has asked her to please, go ahead and go. Come to your place, whatever you need, so that those of us who by complete happenstance have turned out to be people who listen to both of your podcasts. Well, it doesn't make Gina, any sense. So
yeah, Gina, sorry, we're coming up on another little break before we welcome back radio here. So, I really appreciate your heart, genuinely, and I hear the sincere request for things that you think don't make sense. I will say a couple of things just before we have to go back to radio here. One is that's why we're doing this this stream on the 15th. We want to address any of this stuff and let everybody know the truth, because much of it is very simple to rebut and to explain. And I would also say that we want to be cognizant all the time, and we're aware of this. We're in a different situation because there is an ongoing investigation. There's a trial. We have to be more careful than other voices out there, what we say. And there's always the issue of tainting a potential jury pool that we're always very sensitive of. So, Gina, thank you for your question, and we're going to welcome back radio in 5 seconds. All right, welcome back. Final segment of the day. David, welcome to the show. Welcome to the Charlie Kirk Show.
Hey, how are we doing today? Appreciate
well.
what
Thank
you guys
you,
are doing. Hey,
thank you, sir.
just want to make a couple of one comment and then just one question. We're in Southern California. We're trying to get voter ID on the ballot. We're at 750,000. We need 300,000. My second comment is, what do you think of Cal Lutheran turning down making for a Turning Point chapter? Cal Lutheran University.
Yeah. Well, listen.
Do you know anything about that? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, Signature Drive. Yeah, no, absolutely. We have a whole story on it, by the way, at Turning Point USA, TPUSA.com. You could literally just look up Cal Lutheran, TPUSA, and the article pop right back up. But yeah, it was we had a chapter there, a pre-existing one, and it was disapproved in a 2-11-1 secret ballot by the school student senate. And that was according to the Echo, which reported on the matter. They had a argument back and forth. Students presented various arguments. And then, somebody said, I wasn't personally surprised by the outcome. At the end of the day, we do try to be fair, impartial, and we want to see all the clubs succeed. But we will notice when a club is trying to push a certain rhetoric. And the last thing we need is controversy here on campus. Another person said they felt concerned with her safety with a TPUSA chapter on campus as a black student. So listen, this is something that we have seen, which is, we've seen it again and again and again. We actually just had a high school chapter that had been accused of racism or something like that, that they persisted. They ended up getting approval. They had their first chapter meeting yesterday and over 50 students showed up. So one of the things that we've noticed, especially when you have this pushback, is that there's just this huge demand. There's pent up demand within the student body, and you get these huge turnouts, like 50 plus students at a first meeting. That's incredible, and it's a testament to Charlie and how he's still inspiring so many young people. But there are appeal process processes in place for this type of thing. There's a way to, if you have to bring in legal, there's a way there, because this is obviously, if you're showing bias against conservative groups, or if you're not pursuing freedom of speech the way you should. So I always say, when it's a student senate issue that is responsible for voting, there are other avenues that you can pursue with the administration, with legal if you have to, and you can apply pressure in those ways. And we've had a really successful track record of that. Now, there is a troubling issue when it comes to, I would say, Christian schools, historically Christian schools that have probably lost their way. Charlie would rail against Christian schools. They tend to be the worst for some reason, the most cowardly, the most feckless, especially about living boldly in their faith, in Christian and conservative. Megan Basham from the Daily Wire has covered this a lot, and she's a friend of the show. And so I know she's working on a whole piece on this. So it's a troubling trend. And it's just a reminder that these Christian institutions, formerly great Christian institutions, so many of them have lost their way, and they need to find their backbone and their spine again. And the way they do that is get behind our conservative students, back them, back their play. So we are going to keep pursuing this. This is not the only case of this, and we're working. Just so you know, we have field team and field staff all across the country that work directly with these student groups to help them overcome just these sorts of challenges.
All right. We have 1 minute 45 left, so unfortunately, Sarah, I'm going to read your question so we can get it ASAP, because you say your question is free speech. Is there a line for free speech, like when actually calling violence is wrong, or is calling for violence wrong, or you have a no swearing policy? How do you reconcile that with free speech? Well, first of all, we have an absolute First Amendment legal right to freedom of speech, and what doesn't get covered by that is, it doesn't calling to actually commit violence. America has a great standard on this. It's basically, if you're going to be calling for violence, it has to be a specific target, a specific person, in a specific manner. And if you don't have at least two of those three things, in America, a court will generally say, doesn't count. You can say, I don't like the Constitution and we should get rid of it. Or, I kind of think we should overthrow the government. If you're being vague, you can do that in America, and I think that's actually a good standard. It's a standard very few other countries have, but it's why in America we have such a robust free speech tradition. Now, you can still have a personal policy about what you should or should not say. So we shouldn't swear. We shouldn't take the Lord's name in vain. That is a moral principle that we follow. You shouldn't do it. That doesn't necessarily apply for the entirety of the country. America is a country with freedom of religion. It doesn't have blasphemy laws. We oppose blasphemy laws in other countries. You don't want them to ban blaspheming the Prophet Muhammad or something. But if you're a devout Muslim, you of course shouldn't do that. And so it's a mixture of what our laws should be and what our moral principles should be.
Yeah, I was going to say the distinction between moral principles and legal principles is a huge one there. Blake, that was fun. Hour 2's in the can. Thank you guys. We'll see you next week. Take care. Have a good weekend.